and welcome to Lauren Reed Color. Thanks for joining me for today's video. So a few weeks ago, I was watching Shelly from Shell's Coloring Journey, and she was going through her 15 favorite pages of all time. And she was very generous and she tagged me to participate. Since then, I have also watched a few other videos from Joe at Geordie Colors, another Joe at Piggy Pens, Kate at Kate's Coloring Haven, and Jennifer at Tulgey Wood Colors. And I have very thankfully suddenly found some time free so that I can go through my own favorite pages and share them with you. So I'm going to be sharing the pages. I have listed them, and for every page that I have listed, I have sort of got a runner-up page as well from the same book. So I'm going to show you a total of 30 pages rather than 15. I cannot really rank them because I love them all. It was really difficult to narrow these ones down, as you can tell from my runner-up in each book. And so I'm going to be showing you the pages more or less in the order in which I colored them. Let's get started. First up is a page in Johanna Basford's Enchanted Forest, and my favorite page in this book is the compass page. So this one was colored in 2018, which was pretty early on in my coloring journey. This was when I was starting to really improve as a colorist. Before then, I was still doing block coloring. I was still working on shading. I was still watching YouTube tutorials and struggling to get my pages to look like everybody else's pages. This was the first time that I completed the page, and I absolutely adored it. I started realizing that I was mastering gold. I also managed to put in this map background, finding an inspiration picture from Pinterest. And so it was the very, very first time where I actually felt a sense of not only achievement in finishing the page, but in doing a good job. So this will always hold a special place in my heart. On the facing page, however, is one of my coloring disasters. This one was colored almost a year later, and so I can honestly say that I was still learning and perhaps even regressing a little bit. It was my first attempt at doing a bouquet background, and it was a dismal failure. The elements themselves were colored really nicely, and then I put in the background, and it was just... But I'm keeping it as is rather than trying to fix it, because I think it is a good sign of progress. Yeah, so that is my favorite page in this book, but the runner-up page is one I've colored more recently, and it is this duck pond page. So I think you can actually see my progress as a colorist between the two pages, but I prefer the compass page, maybe because it was from early on in my journey, and it was my first real sense of accomplishment and achievement in doing a good page. This one is a beautiful page. I love everything about it. I enjoyed coloring this immensely. It was a buddy color with Christine from Sync Colors, and I really enjoyed the whole process of chatting with her and coloring together, and it has really good memories, and I think that has contributed significantly to my appreciation for this page, aside from the fact that it came out really beautifully. I used Derwent Inktense for basing most of the elements except for the sky, and then Caran d'Ache Pablo pencils on top. The background is only Pablo pencils, and I used them because I wanted to get a muted look, and I love the results. This is one of the most liked pages on Instagram, even though I think there are better ones that I've colored, but people seem to like this one, and I'm really grateful for that. So thanks to everyone who liked it. Okay, so those are my favorite pages in Enchanted Forest. Well, my favorite page and my favorite runner-up page. Okay, let's move on. My next favorite page is in Mythomorphia by Kirby Rosannes, and again, it is a page from really early on in my coloring journey, and it is this Bakunawa page. So this was, I think, the second page in the book that I colored. The first page was the dragon. You have the fire dragon and the ice dragon, so that was actually my first page in this book, so this one was my second, and it was a real challenge because it was my very first first double page spread in my coloring career, and I love the way it turned out. I am really pleased with the glow that I managed to get around the moon. It was my first time trying to get an element to glow on the page, and I think it worked out really well. If I remember correctly, most of this is Prismacolors. I'm thinking I might have based the dragon with Art Grip Aquarelle watercolor pencils, or perhaps Inktense. It has been so long that I really can't remember, but I do know that all of the shading is definitely Prismacolors. Yeah, so this is my favorite page so far in Mythomorphia. I do have a runner-up page, and that is one that is really recent from last year, and it is the Starlight Stallion page. So again, I've managed to get a glow. Yes, I think I've improved. I think these two pages show just how much I've improved over time, because I think the glow that I get is much better now. I've learned how to make it so that it glows with the dark outside, the smoky inside, and so on. And it was such fun coloring these horses. I had a blast, and there is up on the channel a tutorial on how I did this background if you are interested. So yeah, those are my two pages in Mythomorphia, my favorite and runner-up. Next are a couple of pages from Jasmine Beckett Griffith's A Fantasy Art Adventure. So my favorite page here was a couple of years into my coloring journey, and this one is a favorite because I have mastered the bouquet background. So following the disaster of that page in Enchanted Forest, I was kind of, really dreading trying to do another bouquet background, but I decided that, I have to give it a chance. Even if it doesn't work out, that's fine. We learn from our mistakes. But yeah, it really worked out well here. And I think it was because I did a different technique, and I also had an inspiration image. So rather than just putting the circles at random, like I did on the Enchanted Forest page, I got an inspiration image from Pinterest, and I chose the colors based on that inspiration image, and I put the circles where they appeared in the inspiration image as well, and it made all the difference. It doesn't look fake or deliberate or staged. It looks more natural. I also didn't do the same technique that I did in the Enchanted Forest page, which was to put down colors and then erase with a stencil and then an eraser, and then try to color in the circles a little bit. Here instead, I drew in the circles and then shaded around them. So that was a much better technique than the first attempt. And I think it works really well with this beautiful page. It is all colored again with Prismacolors. So the runner-up page in this book is in the beginning. One second. It is the first page that I colored in the book. It's Sonora, and the reason I love this page is her hair. So it was one of my first attempts at getting a highlight in the hair to look a little bit more natural, and I think it came out pretty well. It's one of also my first attempts at coloring fur, and that's obvious because I don't have the strands as clearly delineated as I can do now that I've learned more and applied more techniques. But yeah, I think the page came out beautifully. If I remember correctly, I did add that symbol to her eye. It wasn't in the original image. So the first, and I think one of the earliest attempts at adding elements to a page as well. So yeah, that is my favorite and runner-up from A Fantasy Art Adventure. My next favorites are in a Game of Thrones coloring book based on George R.R. Martin's series, and my favorite page in this book is this one, The Gargoyle. I think the name of the page is actually The Raven Messengers, and that's because of the ravens, obviously. This is a favorite because I tried out different mediums. So I tried watercolor pencils in the background and then shaded with Prismacolor, and then everything else is also Prismacolor pencils on the gargoyle, on the ravens. I can see that my technique with doing feathers was improving. based on my earlier attempts at doing birds in a Hannah Carlson book where it came out really flat. So this was an improvement, and I really like the shading that I got on the gargoyle. It's one of my favorites because I think I used every gray pencil in the Prismacolor set to get these colors, and maybe even some of the beiges. So it was a lot of pencils. But yeah, I like the end result. And then my next favorite page in this book is the dragons. So I really love this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I followed a tutorial by Coloring with Alena, but also made significant changes from her tutorial. So that was I think this was the first time that I did this, that I followed a tutorial but didn't do everything exactly like in the original tutorial. I did use watercolor paints, which she did as well, but obviously watercolor does whatever it wants. It goes wherever it feels like, and no two pages are going to come out exactly the same, which is fun. Also, as I said, I used watercolor, and I enjoy using watercolor pencils. I can still get a measure of control with those pencils that you cannot really get with watercolor, but I do like the way that it came out. I also diverged from Elena's tutorial for the dragon. If I remember correctly, her dragon was entirely red, and I decided that I wanted to put some black in it. And I also think that my shading on the dragons is slightly different from hers. But one thing I did get from her is the addition of these sparkly watercolor highlights on the mountain. So I really love the way this page came out, and it was a lot of fun to color. So that is also why it's a favorite. So yeah, a Game of Thrones coloring book. Next are my favorite and runner-up from Nouveau Fantasy Special. So my favorite is this mermaid page. I've shown this page a couple of times on the channel, talking about the different pencils that I used. So for the background, it is, I think it's Derwent Color Soft, but blended with Spectrum Noir pencils. For the dragon, it is also Castle Arts, but there's also some Pro Color and Spectrum Noir for blending. And if I remember correctly, the fish is Pro Color so that I could get the sharp edges and harsher lines, because the Pro Color are excellent for that. I really love this page. I love her hair. The hair is definitely Pro Color pencils. And I love the glow that I got in the middle. Another page, well, it's my runner-up page, that just get it, is Merlin. So another page where I got a good glow, and one of the reasons I really love this page is for the gold. I really did a good job on the gold. I'm proud of myself. Over the years, I've been working on gold, trying to perfect it, trying to make sure I've got my highlights. And this page also has another innovation, and that is that I colored in the circle with acrylic markers, and then I put the highlights in because I felt that the page was a bit too busy. I'm always impressed with myself when I make changes to the page and make it a little bit different from the original artwork. I always have fun with that. So that is my runner-up in Nouveau Fantasy Special with artwork by Herb Leonard. Next up is Twilight Garden by Maria Trolle, and my favorite page in this book is the watering can with the cute little hedgehog. So one of the reasons this is a favorite of mine is because it is the first time that I added a major element to the background. I drew in this wooden fence. I found an inspiration image on Pinterest, and I copied it. If I remember correctly, I drew in the lines with a ruler, and I was a little bit scared that my dimensions were off, but once I started coloring it, it came out really beautifully, and I'm really pleased with the end result. The rest of it is Polychromos pencils on an Derwent Inktense base. So it's based with Derwent Inktense to get the rust, and then it is shaded with Polychromos, and the background is watercolor pencils activated and then gone over again dry. And then my runner-up page in this book is The Cat in Flowers. This is one of my favorites because of the background. Here I followed a tutorial by Olivier from Olivia Colors, and she did this background with Derwent Inktense, and I think it was polychromos for the shading, but I can't really remember. I've shown this page on my Derwent Inktense techniques video if you're interested, where I talk about how I did it and showed the technique for doing it. But of course you can also follow Olivia's tutorial on her Patreon. I'm trying to think what else. She did this on a different page. So I think one of the reasons that I really like this page is because she did this background on a different page in a different book, and I applied it to this page. And so it is a good example of learning from a tutorial and then applying it to a completely new and different page other than the one that's in the tutorial. The reason this one is not my favorite is because I don't like my cat's face. He sort of looks sad. I like the fur texture that I got on his body and on his head, but his expression is so melancholy. I would have liked to have a happier cat. And so that's why it's the runner-up rather than the favorite. Anyway, those are my 2 pages in Twilight Garden. Next is Mythographic Imagine by Joseph Katzenbang, and I have the Dutch version of this book. So my favorite page in this one is the Moon Beast page. This is a favorite for a couple of reasons. First of all, I went on holiday to the Netherlands to visit my brother, and I only took my polychromos pencils and my small Hannah Carlzon Tales of the Forest Kingdom book. Okay. Then one day my brother and I were out and about, and of course we went to a bookstore because that's what I do. In any foreign city, I will go to a bookstore, and I was browsing through the coloring book section and I found this book. So I snapped it up really quickly, went straight back home and started coloring it. And it is only polychromos pencils with lots and lots of shading and some white Posca pen. Otherwise, only polychromos, and it demonstrates to me the wonderful effects that you can get with polychromos if you have patience. So in between talking to my brother and going out and visiting all sorts of sites, I colored this page, and I love the way it came out, and it has good memories of that trip to visit him and using my polychromos. And the other page that I really love in this book is this Harmony page. It is one that was done last year. It seems that most of my favorites are ones that I did early on, and then most of my runner-ups are ones that I've done more recently. Anyway, I love this page. First of all, it is my favorite page in the book. The robot reminds me of Johnny Five from the Short Circuit film, and so it's always had a really special place in my heart, and I am really happy with the way it came out. Also on the channel is a tutorial for how I colored the gold on the robot. Here it is Art Grip Aquarelle Pencil Dry on the background, and then it is alcohol markers for basing all of the other elements, and then it is Castle Arts pencils for shading, if I remember correctly. It might be some other pencil for the robot, which I can't remember right now. Maybe Colorsoft? I can't remember which pencils I did for the robot itself. I'm leaning towards Castle Arts, but it might have been Colorsoft. Yeah, but I really love the end result, and it is a runner-up in Mythographic Imagine. My next favorite pages are in Kingdom of Curious Creatures by Kanoko Igusa. This book is also called Menuet de Bonheur, and my favorite page in this book is the sweet little houses and birds and flowers page. One of the reasons I love this page is because of how my grass came out. There is a tutorial up on the channel for how I color grass and the way my clouds came out. I'm very pleased with the fluffiness that I achieved. And I also like the bird with his red breast over there and over here and the different color poppies. I think this is a really bright and colorful page, and I'm really pleased with the end result. Another page in this book, which is my honorary mention, Yes, or my second place is this Bunny Nursery page. So here I like the glow that I got on the little tent that they've got, their pillow fort. It's really cute, and I like all the colorful pillows. The reason that it is not my number one page is because I think I could have done something a little bit more exciting with the wallpaper, and I'm not sure that it blended as well as I would have liked. But other than that, it's a beautiful page and I'm happy with it. So that is Kingdom of Curious Creatures. Staying with Kanoko Egusa, I also have a couple of favorite pages in Rhapsody in the Forest, which is also called Garden of Fairy Tale Animals. And my favorite page is this one of the Laurel and Hardy Owls. I think they are just adorable. I like how this one is thin and this one is chubby, and I love the fluffiness of their feathers. Another thing that I really like about the page is the glow that I got around the elements. And here I used Prismacolor pencils for everything, and here I used an acrylic marker to go around the netting of these fruits. And I really love the end result. I'm very pleased with it. It was inspired by a tutorial with Coloring with Alena, who did this brick work on the ground. It didn't have any brickwork here to begin with. I added that in, and I learned how to do that from her. So yeah, credit to her as well for the way the page came out. And another page that I really enjoy doing in this book and is a favorite is this reindeer sweater page. And the reason this one is my favorite is because it was so surprising. I really didn't expect to enjoy coloring it as much as I did. I thought the pattern is kind of monotonous, and the focus of the reindeer is nice, but I wasn't really sure how it would go together with my background. But I enjoyed coloring this immensely. It was so relaxing. I did the background with watercolor markers, and then the rest of it is Castle Arts, and it was a fun page to color, and that is why it's a favorite. So those are my two pages in Rhapsody in the Forest. Next up is Fragile World by Kirby Rosans, and my favorite page in this one is the European hamster. My favorite aspect of this was that I used lots of different mediums on this page. So the background is Art Grip Aquarelle Pencils Dry. The grass is based with watercolor paint, and then it is Prismacolor on top. And then the hamster is based again with watercolor paint, and then it is Polychromos pencils on top. So yeah, I used so many different mediums on this page, and I think it came out beautifully, and it really shows how different mediums can work together to create a lovely page. So that is a favorite. And then the runner-up is this one, the Queen Alexandra butterfly. I also like the Rusty Patched Bumblebee, but I think I like the Queen Alexandra butterfly better, and that is because of the bright wings. These teal and yellow and green wings really pop off the page, and I think that the muted bouquet background really enhances all of the other elements, and everything really works lovely together. So this was another fun page, and another reason I like this one is because it started out as a disaster and I managed to fix it. So I put down watercolor and then I let it dry, and it was really, really splotchy. I wanted it to be smooth, and then I got the idea of fixing it up by making the bouquet background. So the bouquet background is done completely with Polychromos pencils and then drawing in the circles. So I drew in the circles, and then I put the Polychromos shading, and then I erase some of the other areas to get more of the bouquet elements. And yeah, so this was a page that I managed to fix, and then I replicated it on this page deliberately. This one, I didn't ruin the background with the watercolor. I deliberately did it in exactly the same way. Yeah, so that's an example of a page that you can fix. Okay, so that is Fragile World by Kirby Rosans. The next favorite and runner-up are in The Night Voyage by Daria Song. And my favorite page here is the night carriage. I think that I love this page because of the background, and I've just realized that I tend to like most of my pages because of their backgrounds and not really the foreground. So I think that that is interesting. Anyway, this was a really relaxing page to color. I know it sounds strange because it seems really detailed, especially with all of these presents. But once I decided to make the presents the same color, it was really easy. I just put down a base layer of neocolors, waited for it to dry, and then shaded it with gray pencils and red, and it was all colored. It was mainly the background that took the most amount of time, and for that it is Neocolor 2s and then shaded with Colorsoft pencils on top. And I love that combination for the cloudy, smoky look that you can achieve. Another element on the page that I love is the black carriage. Getting black is not easy because just putting down a black pencil makes it look really matte and not alive, rather flat. And so here I used the black together with the cool gray, I think it was 10 and 20, to put in the highlights and to get the black to look more realistic. Yeah, so I really love the way that this page came out. And my next runner-up page is the one immediately after that, and it is this paper cranes page. Here I added in the bridge, and I really think that it makes all the difference for this page, because if it didn't have the bridge, it would look kind of empty. I think that the bridge adds a real element of life to the page, and the fact that she's sort of like waving goodbye to the city. And I have started replicating this idea, not exactly in the same way, in the page that I'm coloring now. And it's this one. It's still looking a little bit of a mess right now. I've still got some more work to do on it, because after I put in the clouds with the gouache, it didn't actually come out as fluffy as I wanted it. So I think I'm going to go in now with pencil and fix that up. So yeah, I like the fact that it's something that I achieved here that I am replicating on another page. So yeah, that is The Night Voyage by Daria Song. Next up is Romantic Country by Erie. This is the book that I've colored in the most, and finding pages that I really loved and could narrow down to my favorites was really difficult. I had a long, hard look at all of the pages before I was able to narrow it down to my favorite and a runner-up. And the favorite is this bunnies in the vegetable garden page. I loved coloring this. It was based with Neocolor 2s, and then I went over it with Prismacolors. The sky is inspired by a page that I found on Pinterest. I found just some mountains and a gradient sky, so I copied just the gradient sky and put in the sun and the clouds, so that was fun to do. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the end result, especially the white paint marker on the cabbages, which make them look so realistic. So that was really fun. And then my next favorite page is, this double page spread of all the little animal portraits. I love doing this. I colored one little portrait a day for approximately 2 weeks, I think, and it was a lot of fun. And the background is just Neocolor 2 and then nothing else. I wanted to get like an aged wallpaper look to it. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. A bit of a challenge because it's so many different images, but I think doing one per day really helped me get through it. So yes, a fun page. And of course, I'm an animal lover, so it was no hardship to color this page. Okay, so that is Romantic Country by Erie. Narrowing down my favorite Hannah Carlson pages was also no easy feat. I went through all of my books and all of my pages that I'd colored and tried to find the ones that I really loved the most. And interestingly enough, both of them are in Daydreams by Hannah Carlson. So the one that is my favorite is this Mice Ahoy page with these cute little mice in their copper kettle going on their high sea adventure. So this page was also a challenge because I wanted to get a reflection of the sky in the water as well. So I went over the background with Neocolor 2s and then shaded with Coloursoft pencils. It's also Derwent Coloursoft on the kettle, but the mice are Derwent Pro Color. Then I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with the waves. So I put down a base of Neocolor 2s, and then I started to put in the white frothy parts with a white acrylic marker. Unfortunately, that marker started to interact with the blue pigment in the Inktense and turn some of it pink. So to overcome that challenge, I took some white gouache paint, I diluted it just a little bit, and then dabbed it on with a Q-tip. And then on top of that, I used the white acrylic marker, and it mainly worked out except for a couple of spots where you can still see the pink, but I'm just thinking to myself that it's reflection from the lantern, so it's fine, and I love the way this page came out. My runner-up page in this book is this Bloomsville page. So again, I started out with Neocolor 2s, and then I was going to actually shade, but I decided I would first put in all of the other elements and then see if it needed shading, and thankfully it didn't. So then I started doing the houses. The houses are polychromos, and it is a combination of the different grays and blues. It is Inktense on the roofs and then shaded with polychromos. And then I started with all of the flowers, and boy, that was a challenge and a half. They just went on and on, these leaves. And of course, I didn't want them all to be the same. I wanted to come up with a different color combination. And so I went with this. And yeah, I eventually finished all of those leaves, but it was a real challenge, and I love the way the page came out. I'm really, really pleased with it, and it fits in with my plans for this entire book, which is to have every page have some sort of bluish background. So yeah, very happy with this page and with the way my Daydreams project book is coming along. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to the next one. Next up is Mythographic Dragonspell. I have a lot of favorite pages in this book because I am coloring it along with lots of others in the Mythographic Dragonspell Instagram group, and every month we color a different one, and I love the way everyone's pages are coming out, and I think that the fact that I'm in this group is contributing to the fact that I have two favorites in here as well. My absolute favorite so far is the first page that I colored in this book even before I joined the group, and that is this Dragon Maid page. This page actually almost got chosen for May as the group buddy color, but we've gone for a different page. So I'm really actually glad for that, because I wouldn't have been able to participate because I've already colored this one. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, this is my favorite in the book. I did my grass technique. There's a tutorial for that up on the channel. As I said, I did the sky. I wanted it to be an orange dragon tail, and to get this a sort of like bronze armor. The rocks were a bit of a challenge. I put down some alcohol marker. I think it's alcohol marker. Yes, some blue alcohol marker, but I didn't want the rocks to be blue. I wanted the blue to come out from underneath, and so I needed to go over with lots of gray and even some watercolor markers to get some of that texture in. And I also put some glitter on her tail to make it shine. I love that. I don't always remember to put the glitter on my pages, and I think some of them could really do with some glitter, but I need to remember. And the other page, the runner-up page, is this Custodian of Light page. This gold was a real challenge, but I think I'm getting better with my gold, and I love the way it came out. And then, of course, I wanted it to be a black dragon, but it came out purple instead. I don't know what happens with my colors when I start eventually getting going. So I wanted it to be pink in the inside of the wings and then black on the outside, but it came out light pink, pinkish purple on the inside and dark purplish on the outside. But I think it worked out well. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow. Anyway, then I put down, I think it's a base layer of alcohol marker. Yes, it's a base layer of alcohol marker. And then it is harmonious pencils on top. And then I put in all of the bouquet elements with Languau gel pens. So yeah, very, very pleased with this page as well, and loving my buddy color in this Instagram group. So that's Dragonspell by Joseph Katzenbang. And my final favorite page is in Dark Fairy Tales by Kirby Rosannes. And as I have only colored 3 pages in this book so far, I can safely choose an absolute favorite, which is, yes, this Snow White and Rose Red page. So again, it's Neocolor 2s in the background, and then it is Castle Arts for shading. And I turned these sinister looking little animals into more cutesy animals because even though this is a dark fairy tales, I prefer cute over zombie-like animals. Yeah, I think my favorite part of this page and why it's a favorite is the glow that I got around the lanterns. So yeah, that is what makes it a favorite. Another thing that I really like about this page is that I started with their hair, to do their hair, and I was struggling to make her a brunette. She kept coming out blonde, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I kept adding, brown pencils to make it brunette, but even with the brown pencils, she was still coming out blonde. And then I just decided, okay, I'm going to take a leap and I'm going to put some black in here and see what happens. And lo and behold, when I started to put in the black, her hair started getting darker, and then I could go into the highlights with the brown pencils, and she came out a brunette. So I learned a lot from that experience and from this page. So yeah, those are all of my favorite pages in all of my coloring books so far. I'm sure that in another few months I might have completely different favorite pages. It is all very subjective. So thank you for joining me, and I'd love to know in the comments which one of these pages that I've shown you is your favorite. Okay everyone, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.